Hi, I'm Tracey, your leading health and nutrition coach and molecular biologist. I've consulted with hundreds of people around the world on their human journey. So if you're a seeker looking for answers, information and knowledge, you'll find it here. Come on a journey with me as I explore the science, the physical body, and the cognitive and energetic space of what it really means to be human. All right. Welcome back, everybody. I'm so excited to have you here. Our season 1 has now wrapped up and we're into season 2. So I just want to thank all the listeners from around the world for joining me through this incredible journey so far. It's just been absolutely phenomenal. And I've loved all the feedback and just your continual flood of questions that you want to have answered. And that's actually what we're going to get to in today's episode as well. We are going to tackle a question that I feel is really prevalent at the moment. I'm seeing and hearing a lot about this, and I can feel the vibe is it's definitely coming for us, especially with the silly season about to hit. So we are in October and we've only got 10 weeks or so till Christmas, and so things are starting to really move along and people are starting to feel the pressure of the end of the year coming. And so this particular episode today is going to be about how to honor our bodies when we are approaching deadlines. So, wow, this happens a lot, doesn't it? I mean, in regular life, in our work life, in our studies, with our families, all sorts of things. So we know that we have these pressures to meet deadlines. And so sometimes we can push ourselves way past our limits, and what happens is the body starts to scream out in all different types of ways. It can be mental fatigue, physical fatigue, energetic fatigue, you name it, it will happen. And it is one of those things that if we don't listen to our body, those signals and those signs just get worse and worse until most of us, unfortunately, reach a place of burnout. And so this is about preventing that. So understanding how to set a plan in place so that when you are going through these stressful times and you know that that's approaching, how can you work better? How can you put a plan in place so that you don't get to a point where you're in burnout? Because that's not what I want for you guys. I want you to be able to know that there is support and there are ways to structure your life so that you can try and lessen and stop the terrible burden that is burnout. Because when we go into a burnout, it's not just about then needing rest and recovery. It's normally that the brain is fatigued, the body is fatigued, and it doesn't just take a day or two to get over. It actually takes quite a while. And most of us just don't have that time to get over burnout properly. And so what happens is you are going really, really well for, a great amount of time and you're pushing through and you're like, wow, I'm delivering and this is all really great and everything's going really well. And then, you get this little niggle in your shoulder and you're like, I'll be fine. I'll just take some Nurofen for it. It'll be all good. And then, next thing you're like, get up in the morning, like, oh my gosh, I cannot move my neck. My neck is like all stiff. Like, how did that happen? And so now you've got a shoulder and a neck injury. And you're like, you know what? It's all good. I'll just go get a remedial massage and take some Nurofen and put a heat pack on. And so now we've added again more and more things, and then you can see where this is going. So it starts with the physical things. The body will try and communicate with you as best as it can. And in a physical way, it'll start sending you signs. And then if you're not listening to those, it will start sending you some cognitive signs. So that's when the negative thoughts start coming in. Okay, so that happens again, time and time again, where when we feel as though we're not meeting our expectations or other people's expectations, we start thinking of ourselves as failures and not being able to deliver the things that we want to deliver. And those nasty little thoughts get into our brains. And we know they're not real and we know they're an illusion, but we jump on that express wagon anyway and we go, oh, yes, you're right. That thought is 100% correct, but no, it's not. So back to the episode. Let's talk about how you can honor your body when you're going through a deadline. So this is what I recommend people to do. So what we're talking about here, by the way, is stressful periods that are planned. Okay, so say you've got studies that are finishing, you've got deadlines with work, maybe you're working on a really important project and you've got lots of people you're managing. Maybe you're a mom and you've just had a baby, all of these sorts of things, okay? There is going to be an end point at some point. And so time out, self-care is of the utmost importance when we're going through these times, especially if you're a new parent as well, okay? Handballing and making sure you've got good support around you is really crucial so that you can have some downtime. You're not meant to go 24/7, okay? So what are the things that you can do? First up, you can sit with yourself and acknowledge first up that this is going to be a stressful time, but you got it. Everything is going to be okay. Nothing bad is going to happen. You've going to put in a plan in place so that you can be adequately prepared and make sure that you can get through this situation as best as possible. And then the second thing you need to do is to breathe. Okay, so when we're looking at the breath, what happens is when we're shallow breathing during stressful times, we're only breathing into the upper chest area, but that's not where we want to be breathing. We want to be breathing into the belly. So you'll notice that if you actually take an opportunity through the course of that stressful time that you're going through and place one hand on the chest and one hand on the belly, and you really acknowledge where you're breathing, that should be a really good gauge for you to see if you're actually coping with the stress that you're going through at the moment. So if you're shallow breathing, then it's probably time to take a little bit of a step sideways, sit with yourself and see if there's some self-care that you need to take. And if you've got that belly breathing going nice and beautifully, then you're probably okay. So use it as a gauge to really see where you're at with this stressful time. And now to get to the actual logistics of it, what you energetically need is to have a plan in place of when this difficult and stressful situation is going to come to an end. Okay, so the mind needs to know an end point. You cannot keep delivering at an optimal capacity for an extended amount of time. It's just not possible. No one can do it. You are not linear. You are very cyclical. Okay, so you do operate in a cycle fashion. When there's ups, there's downs. When there's positives, there's negatives. When there's tough times, there's easy times. It all works in equilibrium with itself. And so you do have to acknowledge that your energetic body, your mind and your physical body actually need to be told when that end point is going to be. So what I find works best is to grab out your diary, and if you're like me, you actually have a written diary, not just on your phone, because that's just how I work and I like it. Don't judge me. But drop in a deadline there. Okay, so a realistic deadline as well too, okay? Not one where you go, oh, this is like the ideal deadline. Let's give yourself a little bit of wriggle room so that just in case something doesn't go according to plan, you've given yourself a really realistic end point. So, because what happens is if we don't set an end point, that's when things start to become quite chaotic. Chaotic in the mind because it's just never ending and the brain does go through fatigue, but also in an energetic space as well. So you've got your masculine and feminine energies. And so if you're not actually honoring either of those, they're both going to start screaming at you for attention. And the masculine energy can only hold you strong for an X amount of time. It cannot carry you through for long periods of time. Okay, the feminine will then start screaming at you and saying, hey, what about me? Why are you not listening to me? Why are we not actually just stopping for a second? Why do you have to do stuff all the time? I just want to be. So it's about being proactive. It's about putting aside a date where you know that you can actually commit to stopping. When you do that, you need to commit to that deadline. Okay, so you want to make sure it's realistic and you want to keep your word. So when you're dealing with your energetic self, you have to see it through. You've made that promise to yourself. So you can't go all the way through the project and get to the end and go, oh, wow, I feel really great. Yes, you probably do because you're still running on adrenaline. Okay, but what will happen, there's always a crash after that high of being pumped with adrenaline all the time. Okay, there's only so much adrenaline and cortisol that those little adrenal glands can make. You know, they do eventually burn out, and there is a massive crash that can happen, and that's when people go into burnout. So when you commit to a date with yourself, then you have to see that through. Okay, so when you do stop after this stressful time as well, it's really important to give yourself enough time to recover. So one day is not going to be enough. If you've been going through uni or TAFE exams or whatever that might be, and you're a student and you're listening to this and you've got to study, then you've got to go back to work, my recommendation for you would be to make sure that you have enough time after your studies and after your exams where you can actually have a bit of a break before you go into work. It's the same with anyone who's working on a project as well. So if you're actually working on a really big project, it doesn't actually, you know what, it doesn't even matter what size it is. I mean, if you're working and you're doing long hours and you're working with other people, you know, and you're dealing with the ins and outs of teamwork or solo work or whatever that is, you do have to get to a point where you need to give yourself some time out. And so when you get to the end of this stressful period, make sure that you've given yourself enough time. Take a proper break. So one day is never enough. It's definitely a minimum of 2 to 4 days, bare minimum. Okay, some people just don't have the capacity to be running with such high energy for long periods of time without needing a break. That is completely normal. There is nothing wrong with you because you can't stay high and go constantly. There's nothing wrong with that. Everybody's energetic levels are completely different. But at some point, even those who run on high energy, they crash in other ways. Okay, so while yours might be, you know, having to need a break and take time off, theirs can be completely different in different areas of their life as well. So when it's all over, another great thing to remember is just don't be critical of yourself. Okay, so if you get to the end of your project or studies or whatever it might be and you feel emotionally drained and you feel like having a good old cry, then I say have a great old cry. There's nothing wrong with that, because what's happened is your masculine energy has held you strong for such a period of time. It's completely normal for there to be this massive buildup of energy that needs to be released. And, you know, a lot of people feel really, really good after having a really great cry. You know, even if it's not crying, maybe it's yelling. Like maybe you need to grab out, you know, the cushion or the pillow at home and like have a good punch at it and, you know, let out a few roars, whatever works for you. Like get rid of that stagnant energy. I mean, you've been through a lot. So honor yourself, honor your body, get into it, let that energy go so that you can move forward. We don't want to be carrying this energy with us, okay? We don't want to recover and then still have this stagnant energy hanging around. We need to release it. It's important to remember that there are 3 fundamental elements to us. We've got our cognitive space, our physical body, and our energetic body. They're all connected and they all have different needs at different times, and they will communicate with you what that is, but you need to pay attention. And so part of that planning process to set you up to succeed and prevent burnout at the end is making sure that you've got well supported structures around you to meet all of those needs. Because if we don't, that's when we start getting tired, fatigued, and running into burnout as well. So hopefully that's helped you with making a plan. But what are the other things that you can do to get you through those sort of deadlines and honoring yourself? Well, okay, support. Okay, let people know around you. Okay, they love you. They want to help you. So let them know that you're going to go through a really stressful time and, maybe you can't catch up with them. That's okay. Don't worry about it. It's all good. Just let them know an endpoint. So you go, hey, and when I say endpoint, what I don't mean is soon as you're finished studying or finish a project, schedule social stuff in. That's not what I'm saying. Definitely don't, because you'll probably feel like you're at your social limit as well. So give yourself a break after you have gone through this stressful space and actually schedule things for 2 or 3 weeks after, okay, you've had a chance to actually get over it yourself, so that then you have space and you're actually showing up for people as well. You're going to feel like a better person. You're going to feel like a better friend if you're able to be present with people. And it's not realistic to think that you'll be able to do that after you've been through a stressful situation, okay? You need to give yourself that space. So get out there and tell people, let them know so they don't feel abandoned. You just need your space, and you're giving them a bit of a deadline as well. Say no. Okay. Oh my goodness. Please say no. You don't have to do everything, and you do not have to be everything to everybody all of the time. It's not possible. No one can do that ever. So, hold your ground and own your space and own yourself. If you don't feel as though you're able to meet an expectation, let someone know in a really caring and loving way that you just can't do it. It's okay. And sometimes that means if people don't understand what your needs are at that time, then maybe that relationship might need a little review, because you do need space sometimes. And those that love you and understand what you're going through, they'll get it, okay? They'll understand and they'll give you the space that you need, and that's okay. Another thing, and guys, I bang on about this all the time, but is good nutrition. Okay, so what does that look like? Good non-processed foods. Let's just start there. Nothing out of a packet. Don't fill your body full of toxins and chemicals that you can't pronounce that are on a box or a tin or a package, okay? Just go for real food. If you have to have pre-prepared meals, that's okay. There's no problem with that. If you want to save time cooking and things like that, no worries. I totally get it, and I've been there, and I do it regularly myself, because sometimes we go through really stressful times in my house and we have to be prepared. So make sure that you're actually stocking up on some really good food, and food that doesn't have all those nasty chemicals in them as well. Drink plenty of water. Okay, clean, filtered water. Okay, we don't need all of the toxins and pollutants and fluorides and all of that stuff that's all through our water supply. Just drink clean, filtered water. And make sure that you are keeping in check with your sugar intake as well. I know it's a really easy go-to, especially when we're going through, really intense times, is to go for sugar. But what is that telling you? You're in mental fatigue when you go for sugar. It's because glucose is the easiest chemical compound for the brain to break down and use into fuel. So when you're starting to go through sugar cravings, that should actually be a warning sign to you. It should actually be going a little alarm bell going, oh, hang on a second, like I'm really craving sugar. Probably because I'm going through a little bit of fatigue, mental fatigue, because it's 3 a.m. in the morning and I really should be going to bed. So I want you to be aware of that sugar intake, okay? We want to keep those carbs, those bad carbs down. Go for your green leafy vegetables and your meats and your fats and all of those things. Keep your body well stocked up with your vitamins and minerals. And if you're unsure about where you're at, go and check it out with your healthcare provider, okay? Go and see where your vitamin and mineral levels are at, and see the things that you might need to get you through this space as well. So, and I think the very last thing I wanted to say is to value your own time. Okay, it's really important that when we're going through a really stressful situation, it can be quite easy for us to, jump on social media, listen to things that kind of pollute the mind. And I want you to think about how you can create more positivity during these times, surrounding yourselves with really great positive and light messages and not things that are heavy and dark and violent. So just bear that in mind, because when you're already drained, adding those messages and those feelings and those frequencies into your own space will deplete you more. So make sure that you're valuing your time and where you're actually spending your time. So anyway, oh my goodness, I've spoken for 20 minutes already. How did that happen? I don't know, but that's awesome. And look, thank you so much to my client, my beautiful client, who actually wrote this question in and wanted to know more about this, because I feel like it's so relevant to where we're at the moment and the season that we're about to go into. So if you've got any more questions and you would like to send them through, you know how to find me. And we're going to have some guests coming up this season. I'm super excited. It's going to be awesome. So there'll be a little bit more information about that shortly, which you can check out on my Instagram page, which is _mindbodystudio. And you can also check out my posts and my information on workshops and things that are coming up at Perth Wellness Coach as well on Instagram. So anyway, until next time, have a beautiful day. Lots of love, lots of light to you all. And stay positive, head out into the sunshine and just enjoy your day. See you later.
The information, views and opinions expressed on this podcast should not be used or treated as a substitute for nutritional, medical, psychological or other advice by a qualified medical health professional. Hosts and guests on the podcast express their own opinions, experiences and conclusions. Nothing on the podcast should be used to diagnose, treat, cure or prevent any medical conditions. The podcast is not intended to replace any medical or mental health treatment. All information and advice provided is for general well-being and does not take individual cases into consideration. Neither Tracey Saltis, guests on the podcast, or any sponsors endorse the opinions, views or conclusions expressed or shared on the podcast. Tracey Saltis takes no responsibility for any symptoms or consequences as a direct or indirect result of this podcast.